Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we'll be talking about the eternal debate that seems to have gripped the comment section of many Odin reviews and Odin videos since the ship has come out last week. And the big question that a lot of people seem to be asking, well, a lot of people aren't asking, there's no seeming about it, is why should I bother trying to get Odin when the Tirpitz is still a thing? And it's a pretty valid question, because the ships have a very similar playstyle, a very similar concept, but there's a couple tweaks here and there. We're going to talk about that real quick. So, the Odin. It's a very small battleship with 9 305mm guns. And I'm not saying that to make fun of it. It is relatively small if you look at it next to the Tirpitz. It's got 9 305mm guns. They reload in 23 seconds base. And she has a pretty good secondary battery suites. She has one of the best ranges you can get on a tier 8 battleship if you really build into the secondary. She has a fantastic armor scheme for her role, and she's fairly quick, fairly nimble, and she has torpedoes. Now the Tirpitz is a tier 8 premium German battleship, just like the Odin, but she has 385, I believe, I'm not European, 15-inch guns. And she has the same torpedoes as the Odin. She's very well armored, although not as well armored as the Odin. And they both have a very similar playstyle. Now, the Odin has a bit better armor because if you just look at my first impression video for the ship, I go over the armor in detail, and it has some fantastic armor. It's got a icebreaker bow, 32mm bow, 32mm stern. She has a 90mm plate that covers her stern as well, 50mm mid-deck plating. And the Odin and the Tirpitz has similar armor, but the Odin just comes out a little bit ahead because the armor on it's fantastic. And the Tirpitz, we all know it. And they both have turtleback armor. Can't forget to mention that. So that means that at close range, it's very hard to citadel either ship, but they of course do eat pretty juicy pins at range. Now, torpedoes, they both have the same torpedoes. They're literally the same torpedoes. They're just mounted in different locations. The Odin has her torpedoes mounted on the stern, so if you need to get the torpedoes out, you gotta swing the stern out a little bit, drop it, and then just swing the stern back in, and you're good. Tirpitz, her torpedoes are mounted in the middle of the ship, so if you want to get the torpedoes on target, you have to turn to where the midsection has an angle on the target, drop it, and then swing the ship back around, and you are good there. As far as AA goes, Odin has better AA than Tirpitz. Tirpitz has less AA than the Bismarck. And plus, Odin does have hydroacoustic search over the Tirpitz. Tirpitz does not get that. She had to give up her hydro to get her torpedoes. So, looking at all that, the ships are, again, pretty similar. I'm sorry I keep hitting my microphone. I'm so sorry about that. Pretty similar, but they have a couple of differences here and there. And of course, the overall difference is they're a different class of ships. Odin is its own unique thing. Tirpitz is a Bismarck. We have that going for it as well. Now, between the two ships, the overall playstyle is pretty similar. But if you look at the Odin for what it really is, there's a little bit different to how it's played. The Odin is really, in all honesty, a very heavily armored battle cruiser, whereas the Bismarck is a proper battleship. And that means the Odin's going to really be going after more well-armored cruisers, and yeah, it can go after a battleship here and there because of its torpedoes and because of its fantastic armor. But the Tirpitz is going to be mostly going after battleships and super cruisers. If you ever try to fight cruisers in Tirpitz or the Bismarck, you know that because of the 15-inch guns, you're going to be getting a lot of overpins. Whereas the Odin, because she has 305mm guns, you'll be getting less overpins and more solid pins. But when you come up against a battleship, you have to depend upon them to show you their broadside in order to do any significant damage to them with your main battery guns, or you have to just go full-on yellow rush and torpedo them, which isn't impossible to do in the Odin, because again, it's got really good armor. You stay bow in, or go bow in or angled, and you can bounce pretty much anything they can throw at you, even by Yami standards if you stay angled properly, and torpedo them. It can work. I've done it. It's doable. in the Odin, but you can't do that too much because, again, it does only have 52,000 hit points. But again, if you're using your armor properly, that's not that big of an issue. Whereas on the Tirpitz, again, you're going to be going after mostly battleships and really well-armored cruisers, and depending upon your secondaries to deal with anything else. And that is another thing that Tirpitz does have going for it over the Odin. Its secondaries are arguably better, because the Odin does have more range than the Tirpitz, but of course the firing angles on the Odin's secondaries aren't that fantastic, where on the Tirpitz they're much better. So I would give the secondaries to the Tirpitz, even though the Odin secondaries are really good. Don't get me wrong there. She has some great secondaries. You just got to show a little bit more skin in order to get them into the battle. So it really comes down to, what do you want to do with your battleship? Do you want to go in and brawl other battleships? Then I would say get the Tirpitz. Tirpitz is fantastic at that. It's been fantastic at that, and will probably continue to be fantastic at that until they strap torpedoes onto the Massachusetts. Then the Massachusetts would be fantastic at that. The Odin, it can brawl battleships, but it's not the best thing to do in it. You want to go after heavy cruisers and things like that, more so. And can the Odin take on multiple battleships at the same time? Yes, it can, but the Tirpitz would be better in that situation because of its health pool. Now, one-on-one against other battleships, both ships are fantastic at that, and Odin can pretty much do anything Tirpitz can one-on-one to another battleship. Again, one-on-one. But when it comes to having to face down multiple battleships, when you obviously can't angle perfectly against multiple ships, then I'm talking about multiple ships that have multiple different angles on you as well, then that's where the Tirpitz would be the better ship just because of its higher health pool. So, again, it comes down to, what do you want to do? My argument is Odin is a very great ship by itself and can do a lot of things that apparently people thought that she wasn't going to be able to do because of all the negativity around her before she was released. Odin's a great ship. I would recommend you get it. And the thing is, just by playing the game through the Dockyard event, you can get the Odin for $10 or 3,500 doubloons. I mean, that's $10. That's $30 less than the Tirpitz. And it can perform very similarly to the Tirpitz when played right, especially if you know what you're doing with German battleships. So you have that too. If you don't want to get the Odin, you will have to pay, I think it's like $45 or $48 in the premium shop right now for the Tirpitz. Odin, again, the directives aren't hard. You can go look at them for yourselves before you make this decision because they're all available in the game right now. The directives really aren't that hard. You only have to pay for the last two, or well, any two sections of the Dockyard to get the Odin. And then you got a $10 Tier 8 premium ship. That's actually really good. Most of the ships they give away in these free events, like in the past, like the PEF, have been less than stellar. But in this case, we have a really good one here, which is the Odin. So, I mean, it's a pretty good deal. And, of course, if you're going to outright buy through the entire Dockyard event, you're going to have to pay in the neighborhood of things like $120 for it. But, I mean, argumentatively, you do kind of get your money's worth out of the event with the signals and the coal. Then you can go back and regrind through the directives for the steel for the event. But I wouldn't recommend the average player do that. I would just recommend you just play through the event and then, get the $10 worth of doubloons to get the Odin. So you have that to look at too, because Odin effectively right now is $10 if you play through the event. But both ships are good and fantastic in my mind. And if you're a fan of German battleships, I would recommend you get both because they are both a blast to play. And again, the argument I'm making is Odin's a good ship. It just plays a little bit differently than the Tirpitz, and is completely worth getting alongside the Tirpitz. You want to brawl multiple ships at the same time? Tirpitz is probably your better bet. You want to be... that's another thing. Odin's detection range is actually pretty good by German standards. Most German battleships have like god-awful detection range. I'm looking at U-Gross occur first. You can even with the concealment build, it's still spotted from across the map. But the Odin's got a pretty good concealment range as well for a German battleship. So you got a heavily armored supercruiser or an outright battleship. It's up to you which one do you want to play. And I don't really think they should be being compared because even though, again, they're very similar they play slightly different, which changes the overall mannerisms of playing them. So that's my argument there. Both are good ships. Both are worth getting, in my opinion. If you're a fan of German battleships, you probably already have one and are working on getting the other. But anyway, guys, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I should be getting back from my vacation now. So the past week's worth of videos I made in like 4 days. So I apologize if I sounded like incredibly tired. It got some stuff wrong because, good God, making 13 videos in 4 days, that was a friggin' pain to get through. But anyway, guys, hope you're having a great day. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.